nature is sacred. But the problem is people don't have the stillness to understand that. People conceptualize nature with labels, with thought. They approach nature with labels and thought, and they end up conceptualizing themselves within those thoughts instead of being here present in nature. They go around and they see tree, animal, and they don't realize the sacred bond and stillness that is there underlying behind the illusion of conceptualizing it inside the human mind. Because of that approach to the planet which we're having, which is delusional and insane, then we get people who can raise quickly $1 billion to build an old building on a planet that's dying.
Now if we wait and do nothing, then what about the future? How can we look into their eyes and say we love each other?
Hey guys, I just thought I'd record a quick one and do a little parallel to yesterday's video about Notre Dame. So there's an entrepreneur, a Swiss entrepreneur, whose surname is Weiss. First name is Hans Jörg. I don't know how to speak Swiss. I'll put his name in. And this guy has a lot of sense. This guy donated $1 billion to the protection of the planet, to the protection of the environment. And I think as you look at that, you're able to have a little bit of a learning tool. You're able to connect your heart to it and to the cathedral and make a logical decision about which makes sense. What's truly sacred? We have, at the present moment, 100 orangutans every week die due to human conflict. They are at the stage now where they feel that this generation of orangutans that is alive today will be the final wild orangutans on planet Earth because of humans, because of palm oil, because of the demand for it and the demand for logging. That's one of our closest relatives and is truly a sacred being. Nature is sacred, but the problem is people don't have the stillness to understand that. People conceptualize nature with labels, with thought. They approach nature with labels and thought, and they end up conceptualizing themselves within those thoughts instead of being here present in nature. They go around and they see tree, animal, and they don't realize the sacred bond and stillness that is there underlying behind the illusion of conceptualizing it inside the human mind. Because of that approach to the planet which we're having, which is delusional and insane, then we get people who can raise quickly $1 billion to build an old building on a planet that's dying. That building is not sacred. It's of zero importance. It's a feat of architectural prowess, and it's an achievement for human masonry. But times are changing. And right now, we have species going extinct 1,000 times faster than history. Some estimate it's higher than that. We have rainforests being cleared that won't be restored. They won't be restored if we keep going this way. We have people who deny that there's any effect on the climate from this. People who think it's a conspiracy that cutting down a rainforest is not going to affect the planet. We have complete, irrational, delusional people everywhere. But this guy, Weiss, is truly a little bit of a symbol of hope. Now you could say this is balance, yin and yang, as one chunk of money is used in a completely non-utilitarian construction. Another guy is using a huge chunk of money on his own for a completely noble and utilitarian practice, protecting the planet. And he's protected endless hectares of land everywhere. He's working in Africa, etc., which is close to home for me, of course. But what a parallel. And when you truly think about it, again, if you placed, for instance, those animals that will go extinct, the orangutans, if you placed them in the square of Notre Dame and you said to humanity, they're now going to starve and suffer or be killed by machinery. I've seen orangutans, videos of orangutans fighting bulldozers, literally. You put them there and you say these beings are going to go extinct. And the people trying to protect them are working damn hard just to fundraise even $1 million to be able to do so. And we're about to throw $1 billion at this building. But if we don't throw it at it and we throw it at the protection of them, you're guaranteed that they will survive longer than this next generation. Guaranteed. What do you think humanity would do? They would absolutely go for the orangutan. But people are not coming from an organic place, they're coming from the delusional place of a conceptualized version of themselves and a conceptualized version of reality. The more we watch media, the more we are fed linear information into our linear processing system, the more we communicate linearly, the more we read books, the more we watch movies which are linear. We take a stale approach to life. We lose our connection to the stillness, the isness that is the world. And in that stillness and isness is the sacred nature. And that sacred nature is exactly what people think they see in the Cathedral of Notre. But that's because it's conceptualized as sacred inside the psyche of the collective consciousness. But inside the psyche of the collective consciousness, it's conceptualized as a sacred thing, because it's fed through the media more regularly to people. So it becomes this icon of architecture, of culture, of heritage. But it's not. Indefinitely it's not. Even a fragment is sacred as an orangutan that can't be rebuilt, that cannot be saved once it's burnt down. We're at a time where we're making silly collective decisions. And if people can't understand that, and a lot of the people doing this are Christian because they go in these buildings to worship and they cut off from all of the planet around them and the glory of Eden. And again, they leave the church and they conceptualize their approach. They don't feel connected to it. And that lack of connection is the reason that endless corporations and billionaires have the resources sitting dormant to protect the planet, to protect those orangutans, to go back to my example, to protect the forest. But they choose to parade themselves on this stage, and people get behind them because they think this is a sacred site, and they think it's a sacred site because they are not awake to reality, and they're not awake to reality because they lack stillness, and they lack stillness because they conceptualize everything they approach in the natural world. And when they go to a forest, they're in a forest, they're in trees, they're seeing animals. They're not part of it, they're not connecting to it, but it can be taught. Because I myself remember conceptualizing my approach to nature. And when I woke up to the stillness, I would be the sort of person who understands that we must behave exactly like Mr. Weiss, that Swiss entrepreneur who was given so much to protect this planet. And at the same time, I would know that it's a necessity that we go for utilitarian construction, utilitarian use of resources at this stage when the planet is at a critical point. That we don't hang on to memories and delusions and fantasies and delusions. And we realize that where we pray to God is absolutely irrelevant, as the teachings tell us. And that we understand that hanging on to our cultural heritage is totally, absolutely irrelevant because it can be rebuilt. But hanging on to the heritage of nature and understanding that we are now at the point where we decide how nature survives is absolutely integral to protecting and ensuring that my son grows up and sees wonders that we grew up seeing. Wonders like orangutans, wonders like tigers, even giraffes and lions are now endangered. All these iconic species that are drawing to a close in our lifetime, and we sit idly by and rally round to build ancient temples instead of fighting to protect them, our true sacred heritage that's lost and forgotten in this modern day civilization, which for some reason is clawing at the dark age structures that were built within it. Let's progress as a species collectively. Let's see what's truly sacred. What's truly sacred is that which is not built with man's hands. that which God himself ordained at the start of time. God bless, guys. Bye. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, as it really helps us to grow the channel and with it help more children here in Tanzania. Also, don't forget you can support our work by sharing with children in crisis here, be it sharing for a particular need or even sharing one-on-one support for education, housing, food and medical care. It can be done for as little as the cost of a cup of coffee a week back in the West after all. Just visit www.sharetanzania.co.uk to find out more. Lastly, remember you can also support us via Patreon, www.patreon.com/featherstail, and help keep us here in Tanzania to continue our work. The links for the website and for the Patreon are in the description box of this video. Love and light, guys. See you soon.